Hello everyone, and Glutentag to the third episode of the Summer of AMP Miniseries. This miniseries is all about my amazing and newfound journalism skills and all about the notes I took while traveling across Europe. Last episode was about la personalite de Paris and talking about how amazing the city is, and obviously we can't forget about burger and fries. Go try it. Today we pack our bags and head onto the Eurostar to start our next episode in Frankfurt, Germany. In Germany, I spent a lot of time with family, and overall, Germany was probably one of the most enjoyable times I spent, considering the time compared to the other places I visited. And starting off with my notes, I think the thing about Germany, there's something about it to be honest. From the moment you walked through the doors or the gate of the train station, you could immediately tell you're in a new country or like in a new place. And it felt weird because that was like the first time I felt that all throughout the trip. Because with Birmingham, honestly, it didn't feel far enough from home that I consider it to be like a different country. And then Paris was just mental. Like with a new country, that was the first time I felt in a vacation. Um, like a new country, new language, new culture, tourists. I could go on and on about Paris, but I did. That's what episode 2 is about. If you haven't listened to episode 2, how did you get to episode 3, you monster? And go listen to episode 2. Yes, I really am doing plugs of my own podcast in that podcast. Okay, so like I said, the thing about Germany, it felt different from the start. And just overall, the entire, I think it was about a week that I stayed there with my family, and everything about it properly felt different. Like, it felt, once again, really different. And I spent a lot of time with family, a lot of time enjoying myself and meeting new people, new cousins, new uncles, distant relatives I have no idea existed until now. Families are just complicated like that. And well, I honestly had a lot of fun in Germany because I had to babysit all the little kids. Obviously, me being the youngest of my part of the family, and then seeing a group of like 7 or like 8, not 8, but there's about 5 or 6 7-year-olds. I was the shepherd that had to take care of all the sheep for that entire week. But it was a blast, honestly. Some of the kids were absolutely amazing. All of them were adorable. And it felt weird being the older one for once. It was a newfound of power, a new source of power, having a little kid come to me for help. And well, honestly, I've always been good with kids and like babysitting and whatnot, but like that was my first time handling like a group, let alone for a week straight. So I think babysitting was honestly a lot of fun. I've spent so much time making sure all the kids are okay, and all while trying to spend time with all the adults, but it mostly didn't work out. Mostly resulted in just chaos, and I found myself engulfed in a lot of interesting things I would not find myself doing anywhere else, like playing Among Us in real life, and being an IRL imposter, and being in a murder mystery with 7-year-olds. I don't think that's going to happen again anytime soon. Germany had a lot of things to like while I'm at it. Well, I can say it had a lot of interesting foods to try. Everyone knows German architecture is insane. Always, that's just been the thing about Germany. It's architecture, it's buildings, it's creations. Everything's always been crafted to the max. There's a lot of interesting foods we had over there. Of course, like I said, German doner, absolutely fire. You can't go wrong with doner. And it was really good. And considering how this donor we had was like just a normal shop from across the street, and I was still mind blown. It makes me even more excited to try what real donor, like what like the good donor would taste like, because I have some friends from that I have some friends here that are from Germany, and they're like, if you like the stuff that's in Canada, you're gonna get absolutely blown away. And while I'm at it, to be honest, if you want to try a really good donor spot in Canada or in the GTA, I guess, try looking out for Champion Donor. It's honestly really good, surprisingly cheap, and the service there is really good. And it's a very consistent spot. I go there all the time if I'm ever hungry. Even though it's about like a 20-minute drive, 30-minute drive from my house. But it is worth the drive, to be honest. Okay, now being sidetracked. Interesting foods. Oh yeah, speaking of food, they have a really interesting breakfast. I think it's called like Brechin, something like that. Bruchin, I don't know, something like that. Brechin, somewhere along those lines. And it was essentially they used to have like Subway type stuff for breakfast. Like you'd have a specific type of like sourdough bread with like cold salami and like cold like chicken cutlets and whatnot. And I just always slap it up in a little bit of mayo, and it was really good. Honestly, it was a filling yet light breakfast. When you'd think that having cold cut and having like loads of meat for breakfast isn't necessarily the smartest option. It seems a lot better when you eat it than what it sounds. Yeah, the breakfast was really good. I definitely enjoyed that. Um, oh yeah, the malls over there are really cool. It's all around Europe, to be honest. It seems like there aren't that many malls, but at the same time, the malls that they do have there are like insane. It's like Square One is just like a tiny mall compared to everything else. Like, we went to an average mall in Germany, and it was like 4 full floors, like with like everything you could possibly imagine. And like the malls there are really cool. And then like I said, German engineering, you're gonna find some really cool things over there. I remember in one of the malls we looked at, there was this giant thing they had with the roof. Like the roof was its own design, where it acted as a storm drain, and all the water would like piled down into like this one tube, and you could like see it. And it was really weird because it still had water in it because it rained, and the water wasn't necessarily the cleanest, but it was still really cool that they had that, and you could like, it was like a display in itself through nature. So German engineering was something really cool. Something really cool to see. My uncle, he took me to, or there's this giant square in Frankfurt, and um, it was like really traditional, like, excuse me. Yeah, so it was like a really traditional part of the city, and it still had its like traditional architecture, traditional buildings from like the 1800s, 1700s, and it was really cool. Because it was like, sometimes when you see in the movies of like the World War II movies, or like just overall movies that are placed in Germany, um, you could see the same type of architecture like you might see, and it was really cool. We went to their like House of Commons of sorts, and it was an interesting design where they had like an old church of sorts, and they renovated it. And the bottom floor is just like this cylinder of like paintings, some gruesome paintings, I might add, and then the second floor upstairs is like like the actual House of Commons, and they have like flags of like all the places in Germany, and like they have like the giant throne and everything. It was really cool. And then there's a lot of like segregated spots that have their own little like thing to see. We saw this like one hall of sorts, this one like open like room, or I don't even remember what it was exactly, but like it had paintings from like really old like kings and like emperors and queens and whatnot, dating back to like the starting of like 100, 200, 300 of AD, I guess. So yeah, those were really cool to see, and it seems like I think I remember I counted, and from I think it was 300 or 380 AD to present day, there's been 28 kings in total. So in 2,000 years, there's been 28 kings. That's a really interesting amount, because that seems about like less than 100 years, or like with the king's dynasty and like its time in between. So that was cool to see. There's this giant river in like the traditional spot. And it was like my uncle was telling me that like there's a giant carnival that goes, and there's like two sides of the carnival that happen on each side of the river, and those two like carnivals like are rivals with each other, even though they're so close together. It seems like the left side and right side were enemies. I think there's also like a Twix thing like that. There's like left Twix and right Twix. I have no idea how I managed to get Twix. I'm hungry. It's not lunchtime in school anymore, like how I usually record. But yeah. Like I said, there was a lot of interesting things to see in Frankfurt. Not as much, I want to say, as like maybe Paris, of course. I mean, come on. But it still had a lot to see, and it's had its own little, like, it had its own character to it. We tried traditional German sausage, and I don't understand how it's considered as a like their national food, even though sausage is like hot dogs, whatever, very popular, like in a lot of places around the world. I tried it one time. It wasn't bad. It was good, and I understand its appeal, but I can safely say it's not for me, because yeah. It was really strong. There were a lot of really strong flavors. They were like doused in like this like ketchup type sauce, and then there was like a whole layer of like onion powder on top. So it was interesting. It was good, but I don't think I'd try it again if I had the choice. So yeah, that is Germany. Not much to talk about, to be honest. I kind of just babysat, had some fun with my family, since I don't really have much to talk about. And yeah. So now, after Germany, or I guess while in Germany, we rented a car to take for the rest of our trip. I forgot what the name of the car was exactly, but it was an MG. So it was like I forgot. Well, let me search this up. I'm gonna edit this out probably, but German MG. Car company. MG Cars. Okay, I don't think it has a name. Yeah. Okay, so MG is not an acronym, or doesn't have any other meaning. Yeah. So it is. So Wikipedia coming in clutch. It is from United Kingdom, and it is a car company. Yes. Okay. Probably gonna edit this out. Probably not. We'll see. So we got an MG, which is I guess a really popular company in the Europes in Europe, and it was my first time being in a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle car, and it was really cool because there was a lot of systems that were inside its fueling system, and pretty much the only thing I know from those types of fuel systems is from my grade 9 geography class project, where we had to create a company, and my company was an economical company that like worked on different fuel systems for cars. If you remember that, if you know, you know. If you don't, well, I'm telling you now. So, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, or PEV, PHEV, PEV, PEV, definitely yes. Yeah, PEV. I'll say that. I'll say PEV. Yeah, I think people say PEV. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so PEV vehicles, they have both a fuel system and an electric motor inside it. So it's a really economical system because you're pretty much only going to use one system at a time. So you're going to spend less of your fuel or less of your electricity, depending on which one you're using. And while you're using your gas tank, it charges your electric battery on the go. So you can practically pretty much barely ever need to charge it. It doesn't charge it as much though, but if you have some battery left over and you just want to like keep it to full while you're using the gas, then it comes in really handy. And it covers, I think it was like a 60 to 80 range battery. So if someone's living in the city and like everything's close by, you're not going to need to use your gas whatsoever. And if you need to go a long distance, then you have your gas at the ready. So you plug in hybrid electric vehicles or PEV, very cool to use. And using my MG PEV, or my PEV MG, we took the roads and went all the way to Switzerland. Switzerland is something that's been on my bucket list for who knows how long. If you asked me, like, probably like a year ago, you'd find me talking about Switzerland somehow. Switzerland was really cool, honestly. It was the first less, like, materialistic place, I might say, or less touristy spot. Because Germany had its own, like, tourism in its sense. Paris was, the entire city is a tourist spot. Birmingham, same as, it's, once again, it's the Europe. So there's a lot of tourists from the Americas and from, the Canadias. So it was the first place that had it was purely about nature and like sightseeing mountains and whatnot, and it seriously is like the only place you need to go if you want to look for some real nature. Switzerland is an absolute like mystical wonderland you'll see in a movie. It literally, going through Switzerland, it seemed like you were in a Disney movie. The I stayed near Interlaken, if you want to do some research on where I was. Interlaken was this little town in between mountains. So the thing with Switzerland is that instead of having giant cities, they'll have just random like villages in parts of like either like on a mountain or like at the valley under, or not under, but like at the base of a mountain. So it seriously seems like a wonderland. And for all my Lord of the Rings fans, a lot of the places of Lord of the Rings was filmed in Switzerland. And Rivendell, where the elves live, Rivendell was actually based off a specific waterfall in Switzerland. So yeah, if you want to do some sightseeing there, then yeah, Lord of the Rings is very cool. Once again, insane views and topography was something I'm probably never going to see again, apart from in Canada, because Canada, many trees, many vegetation. It was honestly, Canada as a whole, now that I've gone through different parts of the world, I appreciate it more, because we kind of take something for granted on just how vibrant like Canada is. Okay, getting sidetracked. Once again, insane views and topography. You're probably going to be absolutely amazed when you just enter the little villages. There's some really cool, really clear waters and lakes over there. Like the water you're going to see is going to be the most blue and the most clear water you're ever going to see ever. I can promise you, it was literally like Photoshop blue. The hotel I stayed at had a really nice view, and it was right beside like a lake of sorts. So in the mornings when the sun was coming up, it would be like foggy, and you would see like this really like ominous fog over the water. But overall, Switzerland was amazing to see. So much to see. There's also a lot of cars there. I didn't know, but just crossing the border between Germany and Switzerland, we were literally in this like normal town of sorts, and my dad's just like hollering for no reason. Like he's just like, oh my god, what the hell is going on? We look to the right, we see Ferrari, Lamborghini, Ferrari. And we literally stopped the car, and right there we saw like a Ferrari, Bentley, and Lamborghini dealership. And we like literally spent like 45 minutes just observing every car. And it's amazing. Cars as a whole, you can turn a car into an art piece. And then while some others decide to also put jet engines in there and make it go very fast. Um, Honestly, for you can never explain it to someone that doesn't like cars, but me, I'm a huge car fan, and seeing so many nice cars was absolutely insane. And that is going to be the end of the third episode of the AMP Miniseries. I want to thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast talking about all of this, and it's been amazing having to use my notes like this. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day. So I added in some little bits at the end, because the episode wasn't long enough, and I added in some things I didn't get to say before. So yeah, here you go. So in Switzerland, since we had like the car rental and that's how we like got around, we wanted to like utilize that the most we could. So on our literal like last day before we decided to drive for Italy, we literally like just went on like a drive for like I think it was like 17 hours straight, and we literally just went up to like the highest peaks we could. Like we spent a long time first just going checking out some rivers and lakes and whatnot, and like the areas around our hotel. And then we started like driving like a little bit like out of place, and we went through Interlaken. Like Interlaken's like a giant bridge of sorts. That's like the main part of it. We decided to go from one side to the other, and we decided to keep on going just up and up and up until we went to this like giant dam, which was like so high up in the air. Like if you went one side of the dam was just water, obviously, but like if you broke the dam, it'd be like the biggest waterfall ever. It was amazing. It was such a nice view. I think I posted some pictures on Instagram. If you haven't followed me, at PhantomCN, no caps. Yeah, PHANTOMCN. Don't ask how I got the username. It's a very long story. Probably put it in an episode later. But yeah. And then we kept on going and going, and we got to some peaks. Definitely, we saw a lot of different like little towns that are on top of the peaks. And then we decided on like our last peak, we went like a little bit of like northwest, and we went like straight on to this like specific mountain. And first, the road that was going to it first went from the top of a mountain all the way down in like a giant spiral road, and then all the way back up in another spiral road. And my dad, he was having some fun. He was zooming the entire way. Me, I have a mild fear of heights, so I was freaking out a little bit. Same with my brother. Well, yeah. And once we got to the top, after like 4 or 5 hours of just trekking and like checking out peaks, me and my brother decided to climb a little bit. It was this little trail. My parents and other brother were tired, so they stayed. So we ran, and it was very high up, so we got completely gassed out like halfway through. And then we managed to make it to the top, and you will never guess what I found. Not an amazing view, not like a town or whatever. We found cows, guys. Think about it. We found a literal cow oasis at the top of a mountain in Switzerland. At the middle of Switzerland. Like, that's some Rolls Royce type stuff there. And I was absolutely amazed. Because it wasn't even like there was like a farm or there or anything. It was literally a giant haven with like water and rocks and food and everything, with cows. Yes, it sounds fake, it sounds weird, I know, but think about it. Cows. So, yeah, that was really fun. And I was happy about that for the entire way back. And that's in literal all caps in my notes. It says Cow Oasis. Yeah. So in Germany, I also saw like a street clown for the first time. It was scary. He stared at me for like 5 minutes straight. I was terrified. My legs were shaking. My timbers were shivering. Well, yeah, I didn't like that. So in Germany, I think it was, yeah, once again, it was one of our last days. We saw this like ad of sorts of like a auction for like old Maserati cars, and me and my uncle all being me and my brothers, my uncle all being car fans, decided to go check it out. Little did we know that was going to be the most amazing experience of my life when it comes to cars. I've seen in that like one day, or like in those couple hours, I probably saw enough cars to satisfy a lifetime. So many insane cars. Like I saw a McLaren Elva, which is like $1.8 million. I saw a Mercedes 300 SL going. I saw two of them. Those are one of my favorite cars ever, and I finally got to see one. There was a whole line of McLarens. McLaren's obviously my favorite cars of all time. Any McLaren, I will be absolutely mesmerized by it. So many nice cars. I saw a Bugatti Chiron, which was also amazing. I have so many old cars. I've seen like old generation Bugattis. I've seen so many like derelict cars, and so many even like new cars, and it was all in like this one little hall. And like that one hall has enough to like countless dollars, because it was like 3 or 4 floors of just like multi-million-dollar cars. So that day was absolutely amazing. We saw Ferraris, and there was a souped up I think it was, hold on. We're gonna do another quick search. Yeah, okay. So we saw a really souped up Lamborghini Diablo over there, and he tricked us all. It was like this one like not middle, it was like mid-20s white guy and his like brother or husband, or I don't know, it's like his accomplice, and he tricked everyone to think he was gonna like rev it up and whatnot, because like he got into the car, he like put the seatbelt on, put on like all the straps, fixed the seating, everything, fixed the mirrors. The keys were literally in the ignition. All he had to do was turn the key, and like the 50 people surrounding the car would have been absolutely like blessed by his presence. But no, he kind of just sat in the car on his phone for like half an hour until people lost interest. I hate that man. He was a loser. Wherever that man is, I wish both the sides of his pillow are warm all night. Actually, wait, no. Actually, I don't know if this is a hot take or whatever, but I like a warm pillow. Warm pillows are cozy. Okay, now before I get absolutely destroyed when someone sees me next at school because of that, yeah, seeing so many nice cars and so many amazing things, honestly, it was something mind-blowing.